Test, test. Test. Nhá. Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. Root test. 1, 2, test. Test, test, test. 1, 2. Can you hear me now? Test, 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 test. So I don't know if a person that is in Zoom is gonna listen to this.
It's 5:30. If you guys are ready, you can get started, Chairman.
Alrighty, we're calling the meeting to order. First thing is we're going to take roll call. I'm going to call the names out. Germán Cure,
Present.
Carlos Fernandez Guzman, present. Luis Senra,
Present.
Eric Trias, present. Ricardo Gonzalez. Alrighty, it sounds like we're all here. We have Ed Peterman here as well, and Jeffrey Rodriguez, Councilman Jeffrey Rodriguez. And now I'll open it up for public comments.
Ms. Reynolds, you can go ahead. You're, I think, the holding for public comments.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Esperanza Reynolds, 8465 Menties Terrace. The mission of this group is to bridge the gap between building department, contractors, architects, and the ultimate customer, Miami Lakes property owners. Please don't forget homeowners associations. In our neighborhood, for example, Lake Glen Ellen, we are improving our process by learning more about planning and zoning, building department, and code compliance. Please consider including in your recommendations a flow chart end-to-end that explains what property owners need to do to obtain a permit, starting with the need to first obtain an approval letter from the Homeowners Association. Before incorporating, projects in downtown Miami Lakes went before the Architectural Committee, and now a project goes to the HOA for approval, to the Planning and Zoning if a variance is required, and to the Building Department for a permit. New home buyers do not know many of these steps, and it would be ideal to have a place on the town's website where a video or a flow chart welcomes them to Miami Lakes explaining what to do to successfully complete improvement plans. During your first meeting on May 13th, Germán Cure suggested conducting a Kaizen event to achieve Six Sigma, which would result in reduced waste, defects, overspending, overwork, rework, excess errors to achieve a self-sustaining problem-solving culture. Principal planner Susana Alonso, for example, attended one of our HOA meetings and in one simple analogy, resolved issues that have confounded us for years by comparing Russian dolls carefully crafted to fit within each other to the fact that a property owner must navigate through HOA approval, municipal and county code, permit processes, Florida statutes, and federal law. So communications is key for us all because we need to be aware of our rights, but also of our obligations. Good luck and thanks for listening.
Alrighty, thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody else online?
That's the only one we had online, so I don't know if anybody here in the chamber that's not a member of the committee has any comments.
Any other comments? That's not a committee member? No? Okay, so we'll then go ahead and move on. Item number 4 on the agenda, approval of the minutes from 5:13. There is a copy of the meeting minutes on pages 6 and 7 of what was discussed. Is there any objections?
I will move the meeting minutes forward, if there's no comments or objections.
I second.
Alrighty. Motion's passed. We'll go ahead and accept those minutes from 5:13. And we're going to move on to item number 5.
Chairman,
Yes.
I know it's new for you.
Yeah.
Just when normally with these, because we got to follow Robert's Rules of Order. So somebody makes a motion, somebody else will second it,
Any comments?
and then you can do a voice vote. Everybody say all in favor, say aye, aye.
Okay.
All opposed, no, and then
Gotcha.
you move on. You don't have to take a roll call vote or nothing, but just to help you out.
Alrighty. All in favor of accepting the meeting minutes? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's passed. Alrighty, so special presentations by the building department. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be presenting. So I think the first thing we have on here is to see the building department software demo.
I think you were going to have a demo based on the software that you're going to. Right. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it was mostly the software that we spoke about in the last meeting, right? The one
text
about,
and-
yeah, text message, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think it was the permitting software.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Yeah, that's not, they're gonna be able, if they cut that off, we'll, if, yeah, if they cut that off, we'll die of heat. But furthermore, I think we need binoculars. Because if anything expected to see that, I'm not gonna be able to work with that. There we go.
I think you need to be closer to the mic or something.
Yeah, and I'll
Oh,
see
we
if
have,
I can
we
get
have the wireless one.
a wireless.
Yep. Lourdes, we have that one, yes.
I walk around, I'm sorry. We had demoed a program, Selectron. Selectron is a company that's been around many years. They used to do IVRs. They've done IVRs forever. I don't even know how many years they're in, but they only do government. So Selectron is very specific to government. I'm sure many of you have called the building department and you try to schedule an inspection and it would say push 1 for this, push that. That's the Selectron IVR. We're not getting that. That's not what we're interested in. That's old technology. We're looking at more newer technology to be able to use with cell phones and things like that of integration. So this is a little bit of what they said. You know, they've been 60 years and yada yada, all their information. That's not, and their permitting experience, again, they do just government. These are the cities which they're already in. Some of these cities do have Track It, which is our permitting software. They're a sole source for Track It, so they do integrate very, smoothly with Track It. So
Lourdes,
these are the cities.
How many of the cities, because I'm sorry, but I can't see, but how many of the cities on that chart are cities that compete with us for work?
Well, no one competes with the building department for work. We
Oh,
come in
yeah, they
because,
do. Actually, you do, but that's beside the point.
well, if you mean for private providers and other things like that,
No,
possibly.
How
But
many of the cities there are cities that that our contracts would work in the area with, as well as with us? Are there any cities in this area?
I'm sure there's
Sir?
many cities. The
Okay.
contractors are, registered all throughout the whole state.
Right.
And
But
there's a
which
lot of
the cities up
contractors.
there, meaning, is Doral up there, is Coral Gables, who's using the?
I don't believe Doral is here, but I see several cities in Broward
that's
County,
what I'm asking
Miramar, Margate. I mean, you got Monroe County, Boca, Boynton Beach, Plantation, Tamarack. I mean,
Yeah,
actually
there's-
don't see
So
any
they're
cities
well
within Miami-Dade
represented in
County.
the area.
There's several in the area that they're in the general area that they use this, plus in other places. But this is
Thank
all
you.
of Florida.
Thank you.
Coral Springs, as I said, they use Track It. They have it there in Northport, the ones that they use it.
No.
Again, they integrate with Central Square.
I don't see anything.
They're called a relay platform, is what they're doing. So they have it made for a lot of different things. This is a general PowerPoint that they gave us when we were going through the demo with them. So here it says you can schedule inspection, reschedule inspection, cancel inspections, obtain inspection results, retrieve list of inspection codes, schedule preferred date and time, and leave type comments for the inspector. That is all done through your phone without having to log into our software.
So
That's just
it's all
going ahead.
text message.
It's a text message relay, back and forth. So, well, they can apply online. That's a different software. This is just for, that's on they can't apply anything online through the phone. They can apply online as a different thing. This is just for, communications with inspectors, for inspections. Someone's on the job site, the inspector just left, you don't have to go into the computer.
Does
Yeah,
it,
Luis.
does it integrate to your application
Yes, it's a
software?
sole source. They're sole source.
So when you apply, you immediately integrate to this software, and the first thing you get on this software is your application has been received. And
Well, this one is more, it's more on the side of inspections where it's at. Applications received, we have another system that we notify people and different things like that, but this one is
so
more
it
on
doesn't
the
have that
inspection
level-
side.
It doesn't have that level of integration.
It may, but we've just focused it more on the inspection side, because that's how they presented it to us. We can try to look into it. It may do it that way, but it's different. Yeah, Luis.
Lourdes, does it, when you said you could actually text the inspector that's conducting the inspection pre, during, or post, does it go directly to the inspector, or does it get filtered to the building department and then
I would have to ask that,
It just-
because it says leave type comments. I don't know if that means when you're scheduling an inspection.
This-
A lot of our inspectors here, most of them give out their cell phones. So a lot of them do have that communication. Most of them, if not all of them, have a separate line designated for work, and they give out their cell phone numbers. And most anybody can text them at any
Yeah,
time.
but this is through an app, though,
Yeah,
not...
typically
Correct.
these platforms will not allow you
To go into someone's
directly.
personal
It'll
phone,
go- It'll always go through a gateway.
Yeah.
Right.
For obvious reasons, legalities and all of the other.
Yeah,
you know.
but what this does is, let's say you're on a job site,
Right.
you're just finished one inspection, instead of having to go to the office or call the office or log into the system on a text on your phone, you text a number, and automatically you can schedule the inspection. And it'll tell you if the inspection passed, if it canceled, you can do that right away on the job site without having to go into anything like that. It also has the ability, and I will go for it, in the morning, around 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30, whatever time we give it a time, it will collect all of the inspections that we have and the times that the inspector has assigned to it, and it'll push that out to all the phone numbers that we've collected and give them an estimated time of arrival of the inspector. And that does it, it's proactive, it's just not, they don't have, because we have it right now on our website, and I will show that to you. We have it on our website, where every morning someone can go ahead and look and see today's inspections, and they can see what time they have, who's the inspector that they have. We have a window of time, because sometimes inspections, it's very difficult to say one time. And if we say 3 o'clock and we're there at 3:01, contractors get upset, or we're there at 2:59, so we give them a window. It does not, I don't think this one routes the inspections. Our it doesn't either, but if by the times that they've put them on the list, you can more or less tell what time that they're there. Again, we have a lot of part-time inspectors. Our inspectors aren't full-time, so we share our inspectors with a lot of other municipalities. So it's difficult for them. Usually in the morning, they know what time more or less they're going to be doing a route, and they will schedule that, and they will put the times.
Lourdes, does it also, it's a communication tool with the inspectors, but is it also a platform that can be used for communication with the plans reviewers? Or it's just right now?
That's why I don't know, that's what Rico said. I'm not sure if it can be done, it can send out for plans reviewers. I'm not sure. I would have to look into a little bit more into that. But again, we send that out when we do it in the front. We have that communication for plans reviewer, and it's done via email. But I'm not sure if this platform can integrate that side. But I will definitely ask.
Quick question.
Yes.
So on that text message that we're going back and forth with the scheduling and doing all that, is there specific words that have to be used where you'll have to train the public on how
Not
to
so
talk
much.
to
It actually does the same thing that you want when it's just like if you're going to go to somewhere and you're opting into something, and they tell you text whatever number,
Text
and
yes
say
to
text
this.
yes and whatever, and then it'll send you back. Do you want to schedule an inspection? Yes or no. Why or yes? So you do yes. What is your permit number? You type in the permit number, and then it'll tell you a whole list of different inspections of numbers, and you can get inspection codes from there and type it in. So it's very similar to where you go to a restaurant or anything that you're opting into a web text.
If I may answer the question to the chairman, there's another not a presentation, but there's a couple of pages that are going to come up later on that has an example of another city, and it shows you all the code list. And I mean, we'll
Correct.
have to develop this obviously for Miami Lakes, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's the
Mike,
answer
does
to
it
that
have
question.
the capacity to link to web links that give you further information than just a text message?
I'm assuming we could do that. I mean, we can actually.
We
as
can
she goes
modify
forward,
that.
you
Yeah,
can-
we create the message.
Yeah, you can create what the message is being sent. So you can create any kind of campaign. If you got a storm coming, for example, you can start getting ready for tropical storm, so and so and so, and you can blast it to every phone number we have. But it's mainly.
Point it to a PDF that contains the information.
Correct.
Yeah, you
Whatever.
can.
We can
we don't know
actually-
about the size of what could be sent. I mean, we haven't.
No, it would be a link. It wouldn't be a.
But,
it
yeah,
wouldn't be payload.
I'm assuming you,
Yeah,
within
they
the
would-
amount of characters that could be sent on a text message, I'm assuming, I also saw, when they gave us a presentation, if the message is too long, it would divide it in multiple messages, you know, so, within the characters that could be sent on a
Correct.
text message, you can send anything you want.
Yeah, and it's also, we actually have the messaging. If we want to put a disclaimer anytime, we can manage this. Like Mike said, they've told us if it's too long, it won't go that long. It'll like break it up into like normal text messaging because of the characters. So here what it says it's voice, web, and text. So we can also do this is something that's really good in the building department. We have expired permits. We have a lot of reporting that we have to send out to people. A storm is coming. We want to blast to everybody, all the contractors, a notification, hey, secure your job site. A storm is coming. But, it's easier to actually send it out in a blast. So what it would do if we create those, it looks for it, it's a script, and it'll send out those blasts via email and via text message to every phone number that we have connected with the record.
Just to clarify, I'm sorry to cut you off. So this is something that we're looking, right, that you guys are looking to incorporate, but you use something similar to it now, just
No.
not the text message aspect? Is that?
No, we don't
no.
use anything that includes text messaging right now. I mean, this was brought up the last meeting when, a lot of questions were being asked about communication, and this is a communication tool. That's really all it does. It
Yeah, it's a
sends text
communication
messages
tool.
and it's allowed. What it does, it can translate the text message that somebody's sending, right?
Into
Into a
our
request
system,
for
yeah.
an inspection or into a request for some information. Like, for example, when she goes into the presentation about the codes, et cetera, you can request the codes via text message, and the automatic system will send you on the codes if you don't have them, if you don't have this piece of paper, for example. So we'll put that number on the permit card, right? So you have to have your permit card on your job site, so from the permit card, you initiate that text message, and you either can schedule it right away, if you have a big project, obviously you would already have that shot, right? That on your message, right? You would just request the next inspection, et cetera, yeah. But that's all it is. It's a communication
Yeah, it's a
tool.
communication
it sends text
tool.
message, and
And it's actually for facilitating
Yeah.
on job sites. People don't carry around sometimes a
it
laptop.
saves
or
somebody the time of having maybe
Yeah.
to make a phone call to schedule an inspection, or having to go into a website to schedule an inspection. You can be, having lunch, and you can
text it.
send a text and your inspection
Yeah.
schedule. You want to cancel it, you can send a text and it's
And so
canceled.
but right now, today, it's a phone call or an email to you guys,
Phone
right?
call, no, there's
No.
no emails. You can go on the website and
On
schedule
our
it.
website has it,
You
and
can,
I can show
you can
that to
register
you.
on our website, and you can schedule inspections there.
Yeah, Ricky.
Since you require inspections,
Make sure you use the mic.
You got to press the.
since your fire inspections in Miami Lakes are done by the fire department in Miami-Dade, and you need to know what those inspection results are, does it integrate with Miami-Dade County
No,
Fire?
this doesn't do any
No,
integration
but
with
we
Miami-Dade
have
County.
we have something with Miami-Dade County, an agreement to say that every time a fire inspector comes into the town to do something, they sign on our permit card.
I see.
And we get we get it when we get inside. So when the inspector goes on the field, he sees the signed permit card. We don't have to go digging for it or anything like that. It's an agreement that we've had for a very long time. And when new ones come in, they kind of like already know that they're trained. So we have an agreement that they sign on our permit cards. So when the inspector goes out there, he usually will check to make sure fire is already done before he goes out, because he reviews the case before he leaves his permit to make sure that everything is done, everything's closed. And he reviews it, and that's part of his review to see fire.
Okay.
But when he does on the field, anyone can see that fire was approved.
Yeah, and I'll say fire for like everything else. For the most part, they enter the inspections right on time.
Yeah.
But sometimes they can have a computer issue, or the computer's not working, or they don't have signal or something, and they will not enter right away. So they sign the permit card anyway. So if our inspectors, let's say, is coming right after, they know that they already passed
Okay.
the final before they enter on the computer. But for the most part, they're pretty good at entering results on right away.
Yeah, so this is not only a factor of using it as a text or the communication with that, it's also to be able to send out blasts, to send out different things that is pulled from the permitting system. So it has a little bit of other value that also helps with a lot of different things. So yeah, these are what they showed us, outbound templates that we can send out, that we can create, even business tax receipt, like expiration, plan review, completion. Like you were asking that, those are different things that we can integrate and create scripts that'll send out in text messages and emails. They send them both, text message and email.
Do you by any chance have that? Because I see he has it printed over there, where you could have it. possibly,
I can share a copy with all of you if you
If
like.
you don't mind.
if you don't
Yeah,
mind,
of
because it's tough to see it up
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
would be
we'll
helpful.
send you guys a copy.
I'll,
Yeah, we can
text
share a copy.
Joanna.
There's 3 PDF
Mike,
documents. I can
Joanna's in the
share.
office, text her and have her print them out. So these are like outbound campaigns, and it's kind of hard to see it there because it's kind of small. But it said permit expiration, you know, of announcements, different things like that, which that's the other side of it, that there's a lot of information that has to be given out in the building department that has to be blasted out. So it also has, you know, when you start a campaign, whoever internally will have like a dashboard of things we have to do, of different, you know, things that we can create. It seems to be a very simple system, straightforward when they were showing me the back end to create things. So it doesn't seem to be a complicated system that you have to constantly be going to maybe back to the vendor or back to anything like that. It's something that we can manage, not as difficult. So I mean, they're saying they have 24-hour support. I mean, that's all based on the company. So it goes, and you'll have the brochure. She'll show you that they would have that brochure. We could print that brochure out that we give out to everybody, but you won't have to carry that paper around. If you text the number on that same thing that you want the codes, it gives you the codes on the phone. So you don't have to be carrying. If you forget, you can see it. So again, this just of their, you know, trusted solutions. So this is, it just says what we go. So it's not a complex system. It's pretty just texting, and it gives the information back and forth, but it's an added communication, which a lot of contractors on the field just text. And that's another way of communication to be able to communicate back and forth. Don, you have the other one? Yeah, that's it. That was a very simple, it's a small demonstration that they had. They didn't send me any of the other big demo. Did you have that one?
So I think,
Okay.
so are you getting ready to move on to the next building department data presentation?
Yes. Well,
Okay, so I
let me
think,
print that out.
So what I'll say about systems like this is if these systems are capable of integrating to your standard process today, right? And if the system is able to automate the stage reporting for you and pull from what you input as the process moves and text out, they're very valuable, because then at that point the efficiency factors go up exponentially. If it's a system that is a standalone messaging system, it has limitations because of the lack of integration. For example, when I apply, I should be able to get a text that says your application has been received and you're good, and by the way, we started the process, right? When the next time that application is touched, ideally the system that's integrated to yours will say, we touched it, we did this. The next step, we did this. If those types of systems can integrate to your process, they add great value. If they're separate and they're simply messaging systems, they tend to over time become cumbersome.
yeah.
Right? So just, I
Well,
think as a
cumbersome
group-
for who? For us or
for
the
you,
client?
for you.
We're
So-
not receiving. We're not interacting with this at all.
No, I understand. I understand what the system does perfectly, because unfortunately or fortunately, I'm familiar with them. But the point is, I think this group would openly recommend any sort of messaging system that would be able to integrate to your process, right? To be able to communicate from stage to stage how things are going and the amount of information, and then to facilitate linking back to either web links or other documents that can explain what's occurring. I think this as a nice ad hoc, if you will, it works, but if you're going to look at the efficiencies that this group is looking at, that integration has to be pretty robust,
Okay.
and it has to carry all the way through.
So let me give you a little bit further information
Right.
of what you're saying. This is basically, we wouldn't be touching this at all. This would be seamless. It wouldn't be cumbersome for us. I don't understand what you mean by cumbersome for us in the department when we're not touching this. This is
Because
going out.
No, the reason I'm saying is it won't solve your problem. So,
Well-
all I'm saying, look, I'm not.
No. I'm not. I don't own Selectron, so I'm not defending. I'm just trying to tell you what
Yeah.
you're in the banking world. I know not much, but I'm in the building world, and to believe me, locally,
Right.
every day in the morning, we get people calling us. What time is my
Right.
inspector?
Yeah, sure.
When is he coming? I can't log into your system. It's the website. The Wi-Fi doesn't. These are things that
It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
as end users see a value in, because we hear the questions every day. We get people calling us every day. Oh, the inspector said he'd be here between 2 and 3, and it's 2:55. And, something that in the morning we have nothing to deal with, and these people get a notification that the inspector's going to be there between 9 and 10 or 9 and 11, that's one less phone call that I get into my department.
Right.
That's one customer that can be attended quicker because I'm not on the phone. So that is where I see the added value.
And there certainly seems to be that value. So,
Now, what you're saying, at the present moment, if someone applies online, like maybe City of Miami or Dade County or other things, which we're not doing because we're fully open at the moment, the person is applying in person, so he knows when he's applied.
right, what I'm saying is if this group looks at the overall efficiency.
No, and I'm trying to explain to you
Right.
the steps are.
One of the recommendations this group might make is that you explore systems that allow that level of integration and communication on a hands-off basis with some form of interface that's very efficient and carries through the entire process. That's all I was trying to say.
No, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'm just trying to say is that we could integrate with our product, and I'm talking it from an end user value.
I don't know how this system integrates with yours, so I don't know what it pulls and doesn't pull. I don't know if it's a query-based system or if it's a system that
It's
you have to...
through an API. It actually
Right, so
goes
an API,
in.
so it's a call system. It's a text
Yes.
message. In and of itself, it's text messaging your system.
Correct. So what I'm trying to say, we do have the functionality of every time someone reviews a set of drawings or picks it up, someone might get an email.
So
But
we'll-
now what I'm trying to explain is that becomes cumbersome
Yeah,
because someone's calling us all the time. Also, building reviewed it. Can I submit my plans? Can I submit this? No, you need to wait for the round.
So when I get a message and I hit an API callback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can it go into your system and pull the information
Yes.
from your system and reflect it? That's
Yes.
the kind of integration
Yes.
I'm looking for. Okay, great.
It pulls, if let's say you're on a job site and you want to know the result of the inspection, you text something and it gives you the result of the
Lourdes,
inspection.
when
Yes, sir.
when you give the customer a time for inspection, between 9 and 10, can you give them a broader?
No, we have a 3-hour
Because,
window. I'm
you
just
know,
saying 9 and 10
listen,
for.
you call FP&L,
No,
they'll tell you
I agree.
10 to 6.
I
You call
agree.
Cable company, everybody.
I agree.
And it alleviates a lot of the problems people, but no, he's not here yet.
No, I agree. We have a 3-hour window and it states it on our website, and I will show you when someone logs in to see the inspection. I will show you. We have a 3-hour window. It states it straight on our website when people look in to see what our inspection times are.
And so, to his point, I think what he was talking about, which is the companies that I've worked with in the past, and even mine, I'm actually working on it right now internally with mine, is having multiple systems that you got to go into this one to do this one thing, this one to do another thing, this one to do another thing, and they're all connected with APIs working behind it. That gets very cumbersome because you have a lot of different areas you got to go to as opposed to just one to do it all and manage it all. So I think.
But I'm sorry, who would do it? Yourself going into different systems or the building department?
Your team, be it your admin team, your planners, your inspectors.
Nothing has to be put in. Nothing has to be put into anything else. That's why I'm trying to explain. This does nothing at all. All it does is an API, and it's when you text, we have no interaction. It goes directly into our system, pulls it out, and pushes it out. We don't have to use different systems. We're not using Selectron in the front end. None of the permit clerks, none of the reviewers, no one is using Selectron. Selectron is basically just to get information and communication.
Or you said you can push information.
I could,
if you
but
want,
that's different.
Oh,
That's
that's
something.
optional.
It's a reporting.
Yeah.
It's a reporting and it's a pushing and I would just literally, if I go back to it, it's hitting a button and pushing.
Create any kind of campaign you want. I'm sorry, I didn't have a mic on.
Right, for
You
example,
can create any kind of campaign you want.
They can create a query or they can create an API call that says, look, every day I want you to pull permits that are still open and I want you to send a text.
Correct.
Yeah.
I want you the next day to send out a query or create a query that says, the next day I want you to send a text that covers all the ones that got closed
Correct.
between yesterday and today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things you can do with these systems.
The
They're very,
That's exactly what,
I know.
and it's really push a button because with these campaigns are predetermined. Well, no, in the contract there's like 6 of them that I can predetermine.
Yeah.
And I can run them on my time or whenever I pick the time. I click the button, it's just a push of a button. My permit clerks are not working in multiple. My reviewers are not working in multiple. No one is working in a multiple location. This
Right,
is
so-
nothing.
The
But-
program actually texts
but
the
each-
inspection, the permitting software directly and scheduling the inspection or canceling it.
But so what I'm trying to get at is each person that you just mentioned, your plan reviewer, your inspector, your admin, they all each have a system that they work in.
Correct, our tracking
Right,
system. yeah.
one, right? Is that one system or is
Yes,
that?
it's
okay,
one
so
system.
it's all one system.
all one
So
system.
this would just be kind of like an add-on to it and something else for that.
This would go into that system, extract information, push it out to
And
answer
then be-
questions or
That's all
inquiries
it
from the
is.
field.
And
Well,
all
we-
you would
we
do
will
is
get there.
structure those calls. You would say,
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, you can blast anything. Like, for example, Monday's a holiday, right? We can blast, we close for Memorial Day. You know, I mean, any kind of campaign you want to run,
Yeah, the
you can
contractors,
text
they
it and
can
you will
say
send it to
whatever.
everybody on our database.
Yeah, we can run a query. Contractors' licenses are
So
expiring.
the-
Send them
the-
out. You know, they need to review.
the real interface of this will be to track it.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
I
So
mean,
if
you
you're
have
running,
to-
if you're running Track It properly, and you're feeding Track It the appropriate information with the
Correct.
appropriate codes for action, you should be able to do what we were talking about through the system. That's really where I was getting.
Correct.
And that's-
No, definitely. No,
Got it.
I am not a proponent of working in 4 different systems because that's ridiculous. Because you'll do none of them right. That's why I did it. This is
Now,
a total.
but Track It
and
is a system that you have to.
Correct.
You
No,
have to-
definitely. That's something that we have to, and I can demonstrate that to you because I pulled out a very short report on like 4 or 5 different items, and because I wanted to show you where you guys can actually look at where I pulled it from, because it's totally available to the public, totally available, so that you can pull it and see and take a look. Let me tell Don to put it.
So,
Okay, good.
to just keep on this and before we move on, a couple of the things I wrote down here that I heard is, so you can call in to the building department and schedule something
For an inspection, yes, you can
For-
call
for-
in or you can do it on the website.
on a thing. Okay, so another thing that I heard that happens, right? It happens because you're a small municipality and, you know, it just happens, right? Is the inspectors give their cell phones. And they're getting text messages and phone calls and they resolve it amongst their people and they, you know, someone calls them and then they call the office and be like, hey, this guy just called me, added that. I'm sure something like that probably does happen. So that's the kind of inefficiencies that I think that on both sides that I think that we would probably be recommending is to kind of make it a rule, right, within the building department that something like that can't happen, right? If someone calls you, texts you to the cell phone of an inspector, you know, you've got to both shield the inspector to have accountability on both sides, right? And it protects you guys and it protects the homeowner. So that way it's all in one location. Everyone knows exactly what was said, what was not said, what was called in, what was not called in. And there's that clear line of communication of what happened and what didn't happen, right? So that's where something like that, I think, you know, those little inefficiencies starts off very small, but then as, you know, as the projects go on and they get more complicated and it just starts snowballing, you know, it's a snowball effect. That one text message that he sent that your inspector completely missed or he was so busy that he didn't go back to the phone call, you know, you're putting a lot on your inspector to keep in his mind. And then if it falls on his lap a week later that he didn't do the inspector or something.
Again, let me explain to you. Maybe this I'm not coming across. This is the inspector's not doing an inspection based on a text message. On our Track It system, they have all the inspections. My inspectors have iPads. They go out with their iPads to do inspections. This has nothing to do with an inspector inserting an inspection, creating an inspection, taking an inspection via text. He's not taking the inspection. The inspection is going directly into my system, creating the inspection, and assigning it to that inspector. This has nothing integrated with the inspector at all. They can, and what they're saying is that they can leave an inspector a message is on that inspection request. They can leave him a message.
All right, I'm not talking about this system now. We're trying to understand the process, right?
No,
of how you guys work
that's why I want to
then
go. That's
then
why I
give
want to
you
go
some
through.
kind of.
So Lourdes,
That's why I want to
no
go through
time-
our process
at no
because so you
ti-
can understand it
At
better.
no time in your process, I think is where the chairman is driving. At no time in your process does the inspector sidestep Track It and start to have communications that are not
Never.
maintained on Track It
Not.
and that can derail the
No.
process or conflict with the
Correct.
process, or that you're not aware of?
Exactly,
Okay.
no.
No,
So-
the
so-
the only communication that an inspector will have, maybe via phone call or a text message, is, you know, hey, are you on your way here? When are you gonna
Right.
get here? Just something like that to try to
But when it
help out
comes
the
to,
contractor,
but when
the
it comes
person
to
that's waiting
the
there.
actual process itself of what he's working on, it's gonna happen on
It's gonna
Track It
happen
or
on
not
Track It,
happen
yeah,
at all?
the-
Exactly.
The
He has to
approval or the
resolve it.
denial
I
is
think
gonna
that's
happen
what
on
the
Track It.
chairman was
No,
asking.
no, and
No.
I understand the concern.
Yeah.
I understand the concern of that
Got
because it can get skewed, but no. Our inspectors have their cell phones, but it's for the convenience of calling, hey, listen, I'm running 5 minutes late. If you get to my job site, please wait for me. Hey, if, you know, I didn't understand what your comments were. Can you please explain them to me? Or maybe you didn't see it, or can you come back? Because we do that. We're a small municipality and we can afford sometimes that inspectors can go back sometimes 2 and 3 times to the same job site in the same day. Because someone said, you know what, I haven't finished pouring, I haven't finished doing this, can you come back a little bit later? And they'll go, okay, fine, don't worry about it. I'll go do a couple more inspections and come back. But and if an inspector wants to add an inspection, he'll call me, the counter, anybody, and say, hey, this person, I need to add an inspection for this job site because they only requested 1 inspection, but they're gonna actually do the other one also. Can you add it? And they don't take on adding an inspection through a text message, through a phone call, without,
There is no parallel
doing that.
system to Track It. Track It is it.
it's it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Good, that's a good thing. Because I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
Yeah, but I'm trying to see if I should go into traffic test.
So now we're going to move on to kind of understanding more about the data that you guys
Well,
have and all
thank
that.
you.
After
Thank you
this
for taking
meeting,
the time to share this with us.
I'll go ahead and tomorrow morning I'll
Okay,
forward it
thank
to
you.
all of you. I'll send it to the manager so he can share it. Well, actually, Ed, I think I've already sent it to you, so
Well,
you may
I'm
just
gonna
want to
show-
share it.
What's
I think
that?
I've sent this to you already, to
Yeah,
put on the
you-
agenda. I'm not sure if it was included on the agenda, but remember I sent it, I think, a couple of days ago.
Send it to me again.
Okay, we'll do. Never mind, I never sent it.
I think I have your emails on auto delete, so
Oh,
yes.
boy.
When someone goes to our website to be able to view, and I know, and I apologize, this is kind of small. I can send it to you, but you go into our website, he's gonna make it a little bit bigger. What I've put in front of you, again, is a very simple report. You guys didn't know, with maybe give me some items. If you want to look at something afterwards, is fine. I will show you how you can come see that information that I got there directly from home. Anybody can do that without even logging in, without creating an account. That's all public. It's all public record. On the contrary, the more people can see, the less people call. People come in, they can see it all. We don't have a problem with them looking at it. It's all public record. Once he makes it bigger, I want to show you where you can see that.
So while he does that, I've heard you say it a couple times as phone calls coming in. Are you guys inundated
Got a
with
lot of phone
A
calls.
lot of phone calls.
Okay.
A
yes.
lot of phone
Lot of
calls.
Okay. So your admin staff, I'm sure, is the one that gets bigger and bigger because you need more admin staff to come.
Well, no, it's our normal staff that we have. We have a receptionist that answers in the front the calls, that answers also for the rest of the town. And many times she's someone that, the person that's there full time is someone that has many years of experience working in building. And she many times assists us in giving people information and telling them where to go and helps us a lot from buffering those calls. But many times she's on a call, so they come through, or other ones that they do need to speak to staff.
Okay, Lourdes, one question.
Yes, sir.
All the applications are physical. There's no can you do an application online?
We can. It's just that we found that since we are fully open, and like I said, our staff, we have a lot of part-timers, it gets to be conflicted within the paper and the online.
So you have the capability for
yes,
online,
yes.
but you're handling everything physically.
We're handling everything physically due to the fact that we've seen that it was more efficient in the way that since we've been open since May 4th, I don't think any other municipality in Dade County or Broward was open since May 4th, 2020. So we didn't close our doors, I think it was, Mr. Manager, 2 weeks? and we were actually working virtually. So it wasn't, we were just not physically here for 2 weeks.
And when you say more efficient, the paper side of it was more efficient. More efficient to what extent?
To what extent at the
to
point, like I
process
said,
it internally?
Well, okay, so we are actually working on trying to do electronic plan review, and I think that's where the board member here, the committee
Just call
member
me
here
Carlos,
was
it's
going to.
CSG.
So we were working on doing electronic plan review. Now, what she's alluding to is that during the time that we were closed or we went to this virtual setting right around with COVID, we were taking applications electronically, right? Now, the only reason we were doing that is because of the situations we were put in, so we had to somehow be very creative in how we did it, but it was a lot of tracking, right? Because the system was not ready to go live with electronic plan review, right? It wouldn't send notifications that you have received an application, so we have to manually go in and do it. So the moment we came live again at City Hall, then it became very inefficient because we started losing track of some of those applications. Once everything was online, it was fine, but once we started getting both, we didn't. But as we eventually get to electronic plan review and taking applications of lines, obviously all the checks will be there for us to get the notifications. You have received an application, there's something on your bin, so we will get there, but
So
I think
Mike,
she
that's
didn't connect.
an important question. So you say so the system that you have today, the core, can get there. It has those
It's capable,
capabilities,
yes.
right?
It's
So-
capable.
So it's a matter of you building the proper workflows, you building the proper
Yes.
tracking mechanisms and triggers, building. In other
Yes.
words, your system is perfectly capable. If tomorrow we said nobody works at local in the building permit office, everything is online, you could do it. If the
It's
system has the
capable.
capacity to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
It requires a lot of tweaking to
Yeah,
get
no, I
there,
know.
but it's capable. With this same software, it's
Okay,
capable. As a
good.
matter of fact, when the permitting software was upgraded the last time, that was one of the things that was on the table to make sure that it did that.
Okay.
My question, just to have it very clear, this capability that I don't want to say think that they are there. It's not just a matter of tweaking internally, like the town of Miami Lakes. It would be from the vendor to do some customization, to do some changes in the workflow,
No,
but it's something that we can absolutely do internally.
No, we can do in-house. Again, it will require using Bluebeam and some of the other things that we're working on. So yes, we are working on doing it, but it's not just flipping a switch. Again, given the circumstances that we have during COVID, we had to flip that switch, right? And we were able to manage it to not.
Much quicker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You know,
long as the.
But
so
as we
long-
had to
yeah.
flip the switch back, off, and we started getting the live
And I
applications
believe-
on the
But the
paper one,
gentleman's
our
question
staff
is
got
very-
busy with the customers, so it's not able to go back and manually run reports every day, how many applications you
The
have. So-
gentleman's question is very valid. So the question, and the key question there is the difference between customization and configuration. If the system is capable and configurable, you're okay. If the system is capable and needs to be customized, we're in trouble, right? So that's why the question is important, right? So if your system is capable and configurable, and the configuration is the 800-pound gorilla, the coding is there. You can get there, right?
So, yeah, to answer that is more of a configuration issue
Perfect.
for us than a customization.
That's what
The
I understood.
customization was done when the permitting software was upgraded.
Got it.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
it's there.
That's
It just has
critical.
to be developed.
Do you
Mike?
guys have a goal on when that's going to be launched?
At this point, we don't have a
Date-wise?
date, no.
Mike, there will be
Just
some,
my experience with other municipalities, when they started, it was a mess for years. And they still haven't, everybody thought it was going to be efficient. Everybody wanted to go electronic, paperless all the way. And I don't know if anybody's actually figured it out 100% or is running super efficient right
So
now.
Yeah, I guess there is
I don't
several
think
process.
that when we get there, I don't believe that we'll do electronic only, right? I don't believe that. I don't think that we can even do that. As a matter of fact, just require electronic only.
Electronic plans review as well?
Yeah, that's what we're discussing.
Well,
The same
when-
system.
with the same system, yeah, we can do it. I mean, it requires another application, but it works within the same system. You click on it just to do the plan review.
I'll tell you, Miami-Dade County does everything electronic now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike,
that's-
there will
It's
be
very
some.
efficient.
But
Very efficient. I like it a lot.
No,
Or-
the advantage to it is that when you review plans, they're distributed to all the different disciplines.
Well, let
Comments
me
are there.
explain,
Yes.
let
And
me,
everybody
that's one
can
of the-
look at it at the same time. and you can get comments and everything right away.
That is one of the main benefits, that you can do concurrent plan review. You can have 5 different trades looking at the same time. There's a lot of benefits to electronic plan review.
To Mike's point, the 800-pound gorilla there is your configuration piece, and it takes time. I mean, nothing is easy in this. That takes a long time to put into place. To his point, once you've got it operating, the efficiency is there, but to get it there, there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done.
And you actually got to train staff to use it. You know, it requires a lot of
Your biggest
man
problem
hours.
is that staff typically will revert to what I'm used to doing works better than what I,
Let me,
I mean, again, to go back to what we had to do during the week and a half or whatever it was, we weren't using the software the way it was intended to do electronic plan review. We weren't using Bluebeam. Bluebeam wasn't even customized to do what it needed to do. So we were just doing PDFs, right? I mean, we were trying our best to catch up, to not close, and help people as much as we could. But we weren't really doing what we are planning on doing. When that's done, we're planning on doing it in phases. We probably start with, with small applications, maybe roofing applications, fences and pavers, and driveways, little things like that, and little by little start going into the bigger projects, because those little projects are going to help us catch up a lot of the deficiencies, right? Because you think you're putting something out that's a perfect product, right? But a lot of the times there are deficiencies, there are hiccups along the way that you can address. So we don't want to jump in, 100% either. We want to start, with a couple of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 permit types, right? And we start addressing those. We start working with those. We maybe even before we do that, we select some contractors and try to use them as a pilot
and if I
program.
can interject through what Mike is saying, I'm sorry. If I can interject, I'm sorry.
Are we going to see today the volume of those permit types that we're talking about, the data that we're going to see that information today?
The volume, I don't think we have been
we didn't do the volume. If you need to know how many permits we issue, how many plans review, I can glad to do that for you.
It would be helpful to understand the number of units or cases that you handle by permit type.
Sure, I'll get that.
Will begin
Okay, that's no
because
problem.
what that's going to do for us is, it's going to
Mikey, write
frame
that
for
down.
you. But for us, what we can recommend gets offloaded to automation first.
Let me explain.
If you can give me
permit type by permit type.
so you're looking for a number of permits applied
type.
for by type, okay, and you want the total.
Yeah, and
Okay,
then if you don't mind, one of the greatest things you could do for this group is to then code each one of those permit types by a complexity element. Let's say that the most complex is going to get a 5 score, the less complex is going to get a 1
no
score.
problem.
Just score them that way.
Yeah.
It's real simple.
That's simple.
Just score it that way for me.
To interject
And
Lewis is saying
just
electronic.
before you leave that topic, I believe, and I'm no expert in the building department, but I believe that that's not a constant throughout the history, right? It's cyclical.
No, but you'll know that there's certain permits that are relatively simple.
No, the complexity doesn't change, but the volume of certain types.
No, but the complexity of the process does change. That's what I'm interested in.
No, but the complexity, for instance, of a window project, that's always going to be a certain.
I understand.
But the number of certain kinds of projects will change over time based on other factors, hurricanes, et cetera.
Of course, understood.
If I
I'm looking at 20,000 feet. I'm not looking at that level of
If I
granularity.
just can go back to electronic plan review one time, what Lewis was saying, that it's a total mess at many times. And I know Miami-Dade County has to do it because Miami-Dade County is huge. Miami does it because they're huge. Miami Beach struggles every day with it because it's not there yet. And they've been doing it for many years. So Miami Lakes, that concurrent plan review sounds great. But when I have an inspector here that maybe electrical comes in the afternoon, nobody else is looking at the plan because they're already done. Mechanical came in the morning.
Listen,
They're not here at the same time.
I know it's very efficient to get the plans out, but as a plans reviewer, I can tell I hate it.
Now,
It's not the same reviewing plans
let
on a
me-
screen
no.
than paper plans.
and now to the concurrent plan
And-
review, Miami-Dade County was us. We were the first ones.
And in Miami-Dade, they started, like Mike is saying, with little projects for
No, they
roofs.
didn't.
This 2 months later, we're doing high rises. It's
Because
incredible.
of the pandemic, it was a situation that it turned into.
No, I'm talking before.
But the 2015, I think it was, Miami-Dade County started a pilot program that they wanted to do, plan review concurrent with the municipalities. No municipality wanted it because they still thought of the paper thing, going to Miami-Dade County, getting the stamp, Durham stamp, they wanted to see that. We were the first one that says, bring it on, we want to do it. We do Miami-Dade County concurrent plan review. Miami-Dade County, something comes in here, a commercial property, or a roofing, or an alarm, or anything that has to go to Dade County, we take it in, we review it in-house, but we send it to Dade County, and it's being reviewed at the same exact time. And the turnaround time that they get from us sending it in is a lot quicker than someone used to take it in paper. So we've been doing that since Dade County started this pilot program.
Yep.
Many municipalities didn't want to do it, and now they're stuck having to do it because Miami-Dade County is requiring them to send it to them.
City of Hialeah is starting to do it now.
Yeah,
They're-
and no,
they're-
we've
they're
been
putting
doing
the,
it because that is much more efficient because our resident our customer doesn't have to go to Dade County to go ahead and send documents in there. We do notice of commencements electronically.
Yeah,
So
I want to give you an example of some of what she's saying, right? Because again, sometimes what happens in some of the largest municipalities doesn't necessarily work in the smaller municipalities, and sometimes I'll give you an example. For example, you do concurrent plan review, right? In a larger municipality, maybe the city of Miami or something like Miami-Dade County, they have a lot of reviewers for every trade, and they all, you may have 120 applications that are waiting to be reviewed, 300, and they got 3 or 4 or 5 reviewers for every trade, and it's a machine, right? It doesn't stop. Our plan reviewers here, whenever they come to the office, they clean their bins is clean. Whatever is there for electrical, when the electrical reviewer comes that day, there's nothing else to be reviewed by electrical. And whatever comes throughout that day for tomorrow, they clean it, and like that with every single tray. So the concurrent plan review sounds great. I know it sounds really efficient, and we're going to get there. But it doesn't mean that now the 5 reviewers are going to be sitting there, all five of them bidding at the same time. You might have the electrical reviewer going to be coming in the morning, mechanical reviewer will be coming in the afternoon. Those are part-time
Right,
reviewers.
because it's different.
It works great with Miami-Dade County too, because back in the days you had to take your plans to Miami-Dade County, right? The 2 copies, your physical plans, you take them there, you go back and forth with the county, right? For a month and a half, whatever it took you, you had to get them physically stamped, then you bring those plans here, right? Now it's different. You submit here, we either scan if the plans are small enough that we can handle ourselves. If the plans are larger that we cannot handle ourselves, we have a contract with a company called Blue Digital that does the same scanning for the county. So we send them out to scan with Blue Digital, and in a couple of days they're back, and that's it. We upload it to the Miami-Dade County website, and Miami does concurrent plan review with us. So we are reviewing our plans here for MEPs, building, right, zoning, et cetera, and the same time that the plans are being reviewed in Miami-Dade County.
And so, what I think we're going to recommend and what eventually happens, what gets implemented, it's not going to be a switch, and I don't recommend it to be a switch, right? It's going to be a 1-year process of training and teaching both internally and the public, right? Doing that to your employees and to the public, training and going back and forth and tweaking it as you go through it. But as we sit here now, we're still talking about paper, right? So you take a piece of paper, you scan it in, and now it becomes digital. Why in Dade County you could submit electronically in the beach, that they're still trying to figure it out. But so we're talking about them being huge and having a system of, they turn it out because they're so big and they got 5 plan reviewers for each discipline. Here I get it, we have 1 and they're part-time. They don't all have to be sitting down side by side, shoulder to shoulder to do a concurrent plan review, right? Because now we're digital, right? So I electronically sign and seal it and I submit it as a PDF. You just cut down those 3 days that you talked about and sending it off to get scanned in. You cut those 3 days down, right? And the second it gets submitted, I get a, hey, congratulations, you submitted, good job, right? And then it gets reviewed by electrical the very next morning when it comes in, and maybe mechanical doesn't come in until 3 days later. Or he could possibly even do it from home, if that's the system that starts going down the road.
I understand 100% what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, and I want to be clear. I wasn't necessarily making a case against electronic plan review. I just wanted to put it in perspective for the group. I'm just giving you information so I wasn't necessarily making a case against it. We are going that route. We are going to get there, right? We're trying to get there, but I wasn't making a case against it. I mean, it's great. We really want to get there.
Mike,
right?
if I can, I'm familiar with the process with City of Miami. I was able to sit down in one of the process improvement cohorts. They're probably on the 12th or 13th. So every year or every cycle, they train the whole, different departments. The electronic plan review came out of one of those sessions of the continuous improvement. It took a lot of efforts before they actually put automation they have to make sure that their processes were right. Because if you throw technology to a broken process, you're not going to get there. It's going to be probably even more complicated, as Carlos was saying. Data is critical, so we need to know what kind of permits, the type, the amount. I know there is seasonality, so maybe we shouldn't be running like just 1 year, maybe a couple of years. We have a very outlier year, which was COVID. That one is going to throw our numbers like really bad. So maybe a couple of data sets that we can get by season and a couple of years. That way we understand. One of the questions that I asked a building department last week was about the type of permits, and it was kind of very interesting. It was very quick, so I cannot tell that that's the completely picture of everything. But it was how many of those permits you have here are from owner, builder, and contractor. Right now, 50-50. So for me, it was kind of surprised to hear that. So that means that an owner builder, which most likely is going to be a first-time applicant, is going to be completely lost. So we have a huge opportunity. There is a 50% chance that someone is going to come here like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So data, it would be critical to know where to apply that automation. But
Yeah,
yes,
it actually goes back to what I was mentioning a while earlier. For example, and again, we want to do electronic plan review. We're going to go there, right? But for example, people feel very comfortable, right? In a small municipality, people can take a 2-minute ride to town hall and speak to somebody. So it's a little bit different, that maybe you have to go into the larger building department, right? Maybe there are long lines, you have to wait. So here we still always going to have that creature of comfort, right? They're still going to want to walk and see a person in a building department, the small town feeling, right? That's probably never going to change for us. And I gave a perfect example the other day about a concierge service that we advertised it, we pushed it out. We still, nobody's ever used it because you come here and just one person, you're still going to get the concierge service, So it's a little bit different when you're in a small town. We're still going to do it. I mean, it's a great idea. I'm with you 100%. It's the future, right? I think, just like we're probably not going to see any gas using, fossil fuels in the next 30, 40 years, I guarantee you we're not going to see any paper plants in the next 30, 40 years as well. So it is the future, but there's always going to be, that small town feeling that, the homeowner that wants to put a permit for a fence don't want to go through a whole, 5-minute video on how do I submit an application online. They just want to walk here with the application and they want to speak to the zoning reviewer right away. They want to speak to me or they want to speak to the other reviewer.
Over the year, what you'll find, and I think one of the recommendations would be, is to start to think of ways that you can incentivize behavior change, right? Yep. So as you're beginning to analyze all of this, and you're making some very good points, one of the recommendations of this group will be, ultimately, what do you want to look like, right? What do you want to get to? To get there, you're not going to do it by force. There's going to have to be an incentivizing process, which is, if you submit the application online, it shaves 10 days off the process. If you submit it on paper, you know what, it may take 30 days more. Those are the kind of, these are the kind of, and I'm using very simplistic comparisons, but there's going to have to be, that education process doesn't happen by force. It happens by incentivizing the process.
Yep.
Penalizing and incentivizing, right? So those are some of the things that we have to.
A lot of the building departments, when they start with those processes, for example, they will say, if you submit this way, you have a 2-day turnaround, right? Or if you got a 1-day turnaround. So that's definitely a way to push people into start using it.
That's how you change the behavior. That's how you change the behavior.
Miami-Dade County has 11 fire plans reviewers. Okay, 5 for life safety, 2 for sprinklers, and the other 3 and 4 for fire alarms. 11 plans reviewers, and the plans are stacked up. I myself used to do between 3,000 and 4,000 plans a year. That's only one reviewer compared to here, part-timers. I work in the city of Hialeah part-time also. Okay, myself, I work 2 days a week, and I get all the plans out. That's how big Miami-Dade County is. And now, all the plans reviewers for the fire are working from home indefinitely. They just got the word that they might never come back.
So that makes it more complicated. So, but it sounds like here, you're cleaning out your to-do list on a daily basis. So, and to his point of training and teaching and incentivizing, this online thing, right? The online plan review and all that we're talking about. One thing that it does do is it plays into the caller that we had today, and I think that might have been the same caller from last time. asking for the same thing, is a flow chart, some kind of flow chart where everybody can see it, right? And if you have an online process, the flow chart is there. Dade County has it. You see the step-by-step of everything that needs to happen, who needs to see it, who's seeing, who has it, what comments they have. So there's that, that would solve the issue of what the caller's asking for, right? Is a flow chart, right? Something that's on paper that I could see it and I could track and see, okay, I am on step 20 of 100, or whatever that case might be. So I think you killed two birds with one stone if we start thinking and moving towards, and like I said, it's not going to be a flip the switch and tomorrow we have an online thing. It's going to be a 1 to 2 year process of
time.
setting it up, implementing, training, teaching, both the public and your staff. And maybe it does mean staffing up a little bit and bringing on an additional part-time plan reviewer or inspector or something like that in some areas that you might need it, right? It doesn't sound like you need it now, but maybe that is something that you got to think down the road that you might need to bring on somebody additional to help you out with either the admin or the inspections or the plan review, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, we have, Mike does a great job managing the staffing of the plans reviewer, especially in the building department, because we have some of the plans reviewers are full-time employees. That they handle the base, right? The base, the level of permits that are going to be constant throughout time. And then he has some that are contractors. So that's you can open up the spigot or close the spigot based on volume, and he does a great job managing that because he's an enterprise fund. So the entire building department is run, no general fund money, it's all based on permit fees generated. So everything he does there, and he's got to think ahead, right? He's got to save money because eventually then we're going to spend more money, and then not have as much revenue. So he does a great job, and we do have that fudge factor with some of them are contractors where he can open the spigot a little more if we have more volume or close it if volume decreases.
Right.
So.
What I heard the caller say today was that there are several stakeholders in the process that need a roadmap and specific clarity as to what they need to do, right? So if you're an architect, this is what you can expect. If you're an engineer, this is what you can expect. If you're an HOA, this is what you can expect. If you're an owner, contractor, this is what you can expect in the process. And then how that, each one of those interacts with you is where you set the incentive or lack of incentive or penalty, right? To modify the behavior. So it's like the chair properly said, this is by no means a sprint. This is like a marathon, and it's phased. It's going to be something that's going to take you years to get to where you probably want to be, but you got to start somewhere, right? And then you have to face accordingly, and you triage it by level of importance and complexity. That's the way the project is managed. It's how much can I offload as soon as possible in efficiency so that I can automate as much as I can early on easily, and then how much I can maintain that still needs human interaction to a lesser degree of volume or to a greater degree of complexity. That's the way it operates. Actually, you've got a lot of pieces. It sounds to me like you got a lot of pieces that you can build on. The more I'm listening to you, the more I'm saying to myself, hey,
And when you mention the fact that we're in a marathon, not a sprint, we're probably several miles into the marathon. Yeah. So, even Mike's predecessor, Mr. Palacio, that was here, and Mike mentored under him, and they've already been. This automation process started well, but like you say, it's not. You don't flip a switch and you're there. So they've been doing a great job. Herman from our IT department is great, giving them phenomenal support, and we're working towards that. And we just gotta, continue down the path and get to where we need to get to. So.
To your question about people, that's just curious because Herman came last week and we were sitting down looking at different things, and he asked me, he goes, "Does a contractor, an owner, or who is different?" I go, "There's nothing different. Everyone submits the same exact way." And he was like, "Really?" I go, "Yes. Everything for submittal and permitting in building is exactly the same."
But that's an interesting observation that you just made, and I'll go back to something the chair said and something Herman said. So that in and of itself creates a problem, and I'll tell you why. So an owner contractor submitting a digital plan may be a nightmare. I mean, you're going to get a sketch on the back of a napkin, right?
Very much so.
Right?
Very much so.
Scanned. And by the way, scanned at a fax machine copy, right? So you're not even going to be able to play with it.
Very much so.
Okay, right. So now,
see it also.
as you start to move up the scale of professionalism and experience in those categories, those other folks, not only is it easy, they expect for you to ask it that way. So how you manage those types of interactions from your different constituents and customers?
You didn't understand what my thing was. It
Probably
was
not.
about the process.
Right, but the-
not
but no, but-
we have
Right.
not how they're treated. A homeowner comes in here many times and they're completely lost.
No,
And
but
we've
the
walked them through
the process,
thing.
Lourdes, but the process should be different as well. All I'm saying is that because you have a different audience with different skill sets, you have to kind of look at how the same process that applies to an engineer or an architect can apply to a homeowner.
Well, maybe
or
what I said
contractor.
process is wrong.
Right.
The submittal,
Right.
you need a permit application, 2 sets of drawings, everybody.
Right,
And that's what I mean by submittal.
right.
Maybe I used the wrong word of
No, that's
process.
fine.
It's a submittal.
Guys,
It's exactly the same.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're already at 6:35 and we still have to go through the data presentation and all that other stuff. So, I mean, I think we're all kind of on the same page on where we're going with our recommendations, and it sounds like you guys are already a couple steps ahead. But let's get through the data presentation so that we could take that into account and understand what that looks
Yeah.
like.
So this
and then
was
we
a
can move
very,
forward.
I don't know, Herman is giving you something that he was working on. What I gave you was a very simple, and I say simple because it's simplistic, and I wanted to show it as simple so you guys can look at it, that it's online available as the same exact way. If you look at it here, if you're on my software, which is available online on our permit software, and you go to a search a permit, and you put in a permit number, let's say the first one that I'm looking here, which is BLR 2020-2863, and this is available to everybody online to look. And the Wi-Fi is a little, okay. So here it'll tell you what the process number, you click on it, and it gives you all the information of the permit. It gives you everything that's there. Every single permit, everything that's there, the site, everything when they've applied, the sub-permits that are attached to it. As site information, all the contacts that we have, the fees, any inspections that they're having, everything is there. Any chronology when we've contacted these people and who we've contacted. If there's any conditions, which there's not, and the plan reviews. And they can look every time there's a denial. If you go to more info, it gives them exactly what it was denied for. So this is at everybody's hand. They can look at this all the time. And this is completely open. And I gave it to you this simple so that you guys can do some homework and take a look at it and see how simple it is to confirm these dates and times on our website. It's very simple. And again, I gave you these really simple ones. If you want to look at anything complex, if you want to look at a project that you're familiar with, that you might say, let me look at
And
this
now-
one, I'll be more than glad to give
And
it to you.
just a simple question, going back to the first thing we looked at today. So if you, as far as you can best tell, if you were to use the system you showed us today, you could actually trigger an outbound message for each one of these items by just creating an outbound query.
I'm not sure if I can
Okay,
on Selectron.
all right.
I won't tell you that I can, but
No.
but my software system does allow for, we send these via email. We, in our permitting department, and maybe others are different, we wait for the whole round of reviews are done
Okay.
before we notify someone. It doesn't mean that they can't look on this website and see where the reviews are and who has it and who's reviewed it and who hasn't, and see what comments they are and start working on those. By all means, it's all public. Because if you go right here when they had it denied, you click on here, and it says exactly what the denial is and who's approved it. By all means, what I have found, and the reason why I have not pulled the trigger on sending out the email for each review is because then I'm going to have, and it's happened. It happened, and we needed to turn it off. People are coming in trying to resubmit. Oh, okay, it's ready. Oh, you already reviewed this. Already it's done. And it creates more. So that's why we wait till the end of the round to go ahead and submit all of the information and all the reviews. It may work sending an email for each one. We can try it again if that's
No,
if that's what you recommend.
So long as you have so long as you have the capability, you decide when. So you
Correct.
could say, you know what, I'm not going to send it each one, but I'm going to send it only
At the end.
at
We
the
send
major
it at the end.
benchmarks or
Exactly. We
waypoints.
send it at the last
right.
at the last round.
Or you make a comment saying, do not contact the building department. This is only a review. It's
Yeah.
still in the process.
Something like that.
Oh,
No.
yeah. Germán,
They're still
this
gonna
is-
call you.
This is very helpful.
And that goes to the training, right? Training and teaching.
Correct. Yeah,
And
trying to modify
You'll
people
have
to
that
doing that.
1 year where it's extremely rough and you
I
get
agree.
30 million phone calls. But at some point, people will train to understand that to do that. Because right now, like for instance, City of Hialeah does it like that. And I appreciate that, honestly, because then I could take their comments. The only thing I don't like about the City of Hialeah is that I have to go pick up the plans. And the comments are on the plans. But the comments are made on each, the electrical, mechanical, plumbing. I can start working on it, right? And instead of getting all of them at once and having to work all of them at once, mechanical, like for instance, if I submit on Tuesday, and let's say your mechanical guy comes in on Tuesday, he will probably review it and get comments that same day with you guys, because I've worked with you guys. So that mechanical, I can start working on it, make the changes I need to do, have it ready to go, so that when structural sees it on Friday, by Tuesday I'm resubmitting, because I've already done mechanical, electrical, plumbing, everything on different dates, right? And so that works for my clients, because then it makes me quicker, it makes me look good, it makes you guys look good, because within 1 day, the homeowner or the GC is already knows that you're already looking at the plans and they got comments already. That makes us feel good that wow, they jumped on it really quick. Yeah, it was only one discipline, but so maybe that's something that we'll talk about and discuss on how we could probably improve that here. Alrighty, so my one question on this is, all these are generated once something happens, right? So a plan reviewer reviewed it, put comments, something pops up online like this, right?
You have to go in and.
What you have there is now what people can see here. It's the same information, but it looks
Yeah,
different.
but
little bit
it's a
different.
query system. You have to
Yeah,
query it.
this
Yeah.
is what the outside world sees. That's what we see from the inside. It's a little bit different.
Right.
And I think she tried to put together like the dates, etc.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's
I
not
see
an
that.
actual screen of what it looks for us.
And so what I was getting at was, this is, you submitted your plan, something happened, boom, that triggers a date and that triggers a response or something like that. Just very similar
Yeah,
to comments,
I
right?
mean,
Something
I can-
happened and then this came out. It's not that there's an expectation of this date, this could happen, by this date this happens, by that date this happens.
No, we have internal promises, right? I mean, the statute allows 30 days, but we have internal promises, right? When in terms of the turnaround from plan review.
You have SLAs.
Yeah,
in
we
place, service level
spoke about,
agreements.
I
Right.
believe I mentioned in the last meeting. So for commercial projects, we turn around everything in 10 days. For residential projects, we promise 7 days. But for example, a residential project may be a water heater changeout, and that happens most likely, if
30
not in the
seconds.
same day, the next day. Because
Mike,
for
do you
example, if you
share-
submit after the reviewer's been here, you're probably not gonna get it, but you get it the next day, so.
Do you share those promises, internal
They're,
promises?
yeah, they're shown there on the website. So,
For your customer.
Yeah, I wanted to walk the chairman, because I know he was asking how those dates are created, et cetera. So for example, somebody walks into the front desk, right, with the 2 sets of plans and an application. The clerk would input the information, right, the contractor's information, the owner's information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Attach that to the folio number. You know, and I don't want to get too much on the details of what happens, but then after that, that's taken to the back for the reviewers to review, right? And then that's where the dates start coming in. And for example, every construction, every project is different, right? So the reviewers are not really technical in nature. I mean, the clerks are not really technical in nature, right? They get us, the longer they do it, they start knowing, depending on the type of submittal, who needs to see it, who doesn't need to see it. But for example, you can get the building reviewer is reviewing it, and all of a sudden, maybe in the description of the application, it didn't include any electrical work, but as the reviewer sees that, hey, here's electrical work, so now you have to add a review for electrical,
Mike,
right?
would you
And that's
say
very typical.
Would you say that this workflow that Germán has provided us is pretty typical representative of the process?
I believe so. I mean,
Okay,
we
perfect.
can-
And that's actually where I was going with the dates and the promises is, because from obviously the first meeting, we had the same exact comment from the public as we did this meeting is, it sounds like what what the public, that the comments are saying is, we want to see something that I could touch and feel, have an actual workflow with days and times and datelines and promises of what's the process to change out my water heater, or to construct a brand new single-family home, or to put up a whole new, mixed-use building, right? 10-story mixed-use building, right?
We have on our website a lot of information. There's a lot of data that we've put up there of what you need to submit a permit, of different things of submitting a permit. We've put a lot of data. I agree we don't have a workflow, because a workflow is a little bit, it'll be extremely broad, because each permit is different.
Right.
And each permit takes different times, and each permit takes different reviews.
Yeah, I think rather than a workflow, you need a roadmap, and rather
Right.
Correct.
and a roadmap that contains within it your promised SLAs with that person
Now,
interacting, right?
Now, if you see,
this takes 7 days. This should take 10
no,
days.
and unfortunately, this is a very small screen. But if you see, I have these are plan reviews on a
has a due
specific
date.
project, and there's a due date, and that is the due date. That it's on the website. It's public. That we always try to reach that due date or
So what
before.
you're telling me is, if I'm a potential applicant, I can go to your website and pretty much get a clear-cut idea of how long this is going to take, what I'm going to need to do, and I should be able to very easily say, this thing is going to be a 30-day process.
I don't think so.
No.
That's
no,
once you
no,
apply.
and yes,
Yeah, the
because
process is in
I see what the question is.
Right.
No and yes. You have that idea after you already have a process
I
number.
think
You
the
can log
caller
in
is,
and it tells
I
you
think
due
one of
date.
the things that the caller was asking for is
And
exactly
I
what I
agree.
just asked you for.
Yes, I agree. And by the way, I've spoken to the caller before, and we're working on
I'm sure.
on some
It
of the.
sounded that way.
No, she's a very
Mike,
nice lady, but she's
I
very
think
involved
I
in the
s-
community.
I s-
But I've spoken to her several times, and I promise her, and again, this is on the record. I promise you that I'll get this chart done.
Yeah,
Now don't use what the code allows, because I know how you are. You'll put 30 days by code, 30 days by code, 30 days by
But-
code.
no, but I
That's
wanted-
not what we're looking for. We
I
know
wanted
that
to make
already. I know you.
I wanted to address what the community member was saying, and the answer is no, right? The answer is no. We don't have something right now that you can go and say, okay, I'm going to
Kind of
submit
that being a recommendation.
I'm gonna submit a permit for a fence. It's gonna take me this long. No, that doesn't exist. Now, once you submit it and that reviewer it's put in there, then yes, you're gonna see a due date for it.
Perfect.
So yeah,
Yeah,
and
Mike,
that's a good idea.
couple of
actually. Thank
things.
you very much.
The
We'll probably get it done before you make the recommendation.
That would be the smart thing to do.
Oh, we did that.
Get these guys out.
Yeah.
just wanted to say that the process flow that I just create, they are draft. They are not finalized. I sit down with a building department and
No,
we
but-
develop this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Some of the requests that I heard that come to me is like a process map, something that we can see visually. It's not the same thing to take and read all this than just visually see it. It's very easy to follow. That's one of the requests that I heard from public. This process map not only help to educate the public, but also for us, whenever we engage to any of the recommendations, will be the first step. We can map the whole thing, put the data, as Mr. Guzman is saying. Can you have data of this? What is the breakdown between the type of permits? Something that I didn't know is like the process is very similar depending on the type of permit. However, if you are a homeowner or a contractor, differs a little bit. You have to have your driver's license, have to match with the address and all that. So there are some things that I put in that workflow that is very interesting for someone that a first-time applicant to see. And when whenever we are ready to implement any of these automation, then we have to realize, okay, if we're gonna do this for homeowners or we're gonna do for the contractors or for both, we have to pick the battle, depending on the data, where we have the more bang for the money, we will put the effort. So, but again, these are just draft, and just take it as a draft. They are not official, so.
They work.
All right, yeah, and this will help us get a good understanding of all the steps, and then provide some kind of recommendations on what we think could help tweak it and change some things in here. So there's good stuff. Thank you. All righty. So as far as the data presentation, we have about 10 minutes or so. The any questions, comments regarding the data presentation that we have here?
Just want to reiterate that when we get the data from building, that it has to be data, that represents, not only real scenarios, not just an outlier thing that is not going to help us. That's very important. And as Mr. Peterman says, the seasonality, so we know it's not the same thing, January, February,
Don't worry about that. Worry about, like you said, worry about the things that are going to happen in the most normal environment, right? That's what you want. You want the more normalized, the most possible. The outlier is always going to be the outlier.
Yes. And
by
sometimes,
the way, you don't build for outliers.
oh yeah. Sometimes you can use the 80-20 rule, that, okay, what is your 20% of the things that you do that produce you 80% of everything. So maybe that's something that we take from the data.
Lourdes, real quick, can you go over the inspection process and more so once the inspection or the inspector completes an inspection, how that process is automated, what they do? You mentioned they all have iPads. Just that process, because we've talked different processes. We talked, initial processes, submitting
the
applications. But
yeah.
I know that one of our issues also was, there's the process of applying, but then it's the inspections and whether the inspectors are doing them timely. Just go over that process for us.
All inspections are performed 24 hours once they're requested. 24 hours. Sometimes you do them the same day if they've called in and asked to have an issue.
Next day, I don't want to give them
Next
any
day.
ideas. 24 hours.
Yeah, we don't work on Saturdays.
I want to make that clear.
We don't work Saturdays, Sundays, or holidays.
Yeah, we have a cutoff time, and every
Yeah.
inspection that gets called before that cutoff time is done the
Correct.
next business day, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, you request an inspection before the cutoff time on Friday. That inspection will be put on Tuesday, Monday being a holiday, right? National holiday.
And we have several inspectors that actually work at 2 or 3 municipalities that have the same program as ours, so they don't want to walk around with 3 iPads, so they do the inspections off their phones. But they're all automated. An inspector in the morning, they get their route, they check their times, they check everything that they're going, they put in their times before they leave, and even the inspectors that are part-time put in their times before they leave. Like I said, in the afternoon, everyone's looking in the morning for the inspection times, and they're on the website, so everyone can see that. They go out, they perform their inspection, they put in their inspection at the moment on the job site, unless if there's a Wi-Fi issue or different things, but they're done on the spot. Put in their inspection, then that is the normal process of our inspections. It's a daily inspections. We have inspections for every single trade, Monday through Friday, excluding holidays, and say it before excluding holidays, Monday through Friday. And basically, our inspections are performed every day. Many municipalities our size don't have everyday inspections, but we do.
Once the inspection is either denied or approved, is there a blast that goes out, whether it's an email?
No, there is not. There is not.
That's one of the things that the selection.
Potentially,
Right,
that potentially might be able to
But
do
currently,
it.
you're not, with the email process, it doesn't do that.
No.
No, we don't send any emails with denials or
With
approvals for
inspections.
inspections. No, the emails are done by staff to send the notifications that your plans are ready, or you have comments, etc. There are no
Yeah, so
emails.
it's up
there
to
are
the
no emails for-
homeowner or contractor to physically, obviously, if they're there,
Right.
then the inspector's
Yeah.
going to say approved.
Yeah, if they look at their card or
Yeah,
not.
either
If not,
they'll
it's
see
up
the
to them
permit
to
card
look.
on the job site, right, or the back of the plans, or whenever the inspector signed in. Some of the large projects will sign on the plans, right, because the permit card will not have enough for all the inspections that you go through. or
But
you
yeah,
go
but
on the
we don't
computer.
send it out. We don't
But the
send out
computer,
the
you can see it from your phone too, because the website it works with mobile. I don't know how do you say that, Herman? When a website works with a mobile device, there's a term for it, but now I don't.
Responsive design?
It's compatible with your mobile phone.
Yeah, but
responsive design,
I think
responsive.
to
Okay.
Lewis's point is, our focus should be in how your customer, be it the architect, the engineer, the homeowner, or the HOA, sees the process and how he benefits or doesn't from the process. So I think our goal is to help you with that interface and that efficiency, not necessarily with the technical process that you go through with your people. And we need to keep that frame of mind that our goal here is to address the issues that impact your end customer. The person that are interacting with you and that want to see the efficiency and want to get it through better and get it done faster. And by no means should we be focusing on what you guys do technically, specifically by process, because that's not our role.
Yeah.
That's not our expertise.
No,
right?
I think that's exactly
But I think that's what
the board member
Lewis
was
is bringing
alluding
up.
to,
Like,
yeah.
I think Lewis is bringing up the question
Yeah.
is, okay, so You did it, how does it get
I
communicated to the
would,
customer?
I would have to check the capabilities, because I think our current software, without being Selectron, I know it has it for reviews, like I was telling you,
It
the
has push.
one-on-one. I have to check if it has for inspections. It may,
Yep.
and it might just be turning a switch. And it's possible that it may
Configuration.
have it, something that I just have to configure and turn on a switch. And maybe it could be, I'll have to look into it, but it may be something, or it may be something Selectron can also do for us. But Selectron has the text, that you can, if you want to know, instead of going, you can text it and
But-
find out, but it's a reactive, it's not something sent to you.
But let's look at what Lewis's
No,
question was for
definitely.
a second and think about the process. So Lewis says, you completed, you denied it. The denial gets pushed to a text message that reaches the applicant. The applicant now has the capacity through that text message to link it to a website or to a link place that we can see the actual document and why. Those are the efficiencies you need. That's what we need to drive
That
toward.
scenario right there was something that Selectron will be able to
Yep.
do, right? Because it's sending you the notification from right there. You
And
can
then link
schedule
it.
the next
Correct, no, you
inspection.
don't go a link to the document, it'll actually tell you on the text the denial. It doesn't take
you
a
wouldn't
link.
even need a
Right,
link.
but it-
You can
but it
just
can-
schedule back.
I can
It's semantics,
I
right,
can
it's-
guarantee you, it can also link it to the document.
Yeah.
As sure as I'm sitting here.
But there's no need,
Yeah, I mean,
there's not a
what-
document, that's what I'm saying. In inspections,
No,
there's
I
not a document for him to link to.
I've
It's a
actually
comment.
seen that kind of technology used for banking too, where you can check your balance and stuff like that. I personally never used it. I like the app a little more, but I can see how
Yeah.
people can benefit. But to answer the question directly, the answer is no. Today, the answer is no. When you failed or pass an inspection, there's no notification that goes out. It's either you see it on the permit card or or you can go online and physically check. But
Okay.
the answer is no.
Software will not send a text. It could send an email, but a text doesn't, because it's not a communications
Yeah,
device.
but-
But I'll check if this
But
can send a
if it can
text.
send
back.
an email, that email can be converted to a text via your other platform. So
Yeah.
it's possible.
But it's something that Selectron can do, if that's something that.
Yep.
I would like to make a recommendation, Mr. Chairman and the committee. What I heard so far is very related to processes. This thing that we did it was great. I would like to suggest, this is just a suggestion. We know that we have 5 steps, major steps in the building department. I just developed one with the help of building department. I didn't by myself. I would like to suggest that maybe we explore one step at a time. We develop the process map ahead of time. You can see it, and then we can prepare to ask questions about it. We can go in sequence, or perhaps depending, we say, you know what, the building intake is fine. Let's maybe focus on the plans review. As the gentleman was saying, this goes there, here. I can map that thing, and then we realize, wow.
Herman, I think that's a function of the data we asked for.
And it goes hand to hand with the data.
Right.
So again, we
Once
can
we-
do like one by one, or maybe skip one.
Once we get those counts, we'll be able to make that sort of a decision. What do we
Perfect.
want to see and how?
There we
I
go.
think you're right on the money. Right on the money.
And
If
so
I- if I can- if I
there's
can-
2 things to that. We have a couple minutes, let me just, so two things. The data we asked for is a breakdown of the permits you get by the type of permits and all that.
And complexity.
Right, and so one thing that to the second aspect to kind of narrow down, because of the time frame that we have here, is what are the headaches, right? So besides all the different types of permits you get, which are the permits that end up with the most headaches?
Right.
Because then that will help us out. And what stage in the permit or inspection process of it
That's the
do
complexity
you get
score.
the most headaches in, so that we can focus in on it,
That's the
right?
complexity score.
Focus
You have a
in on
steady
it.
supply of Tylenol, so.
And so
Okay.
that way we can narrow down, okay, inspections is where we get the most headaches and the most hiccups and the most friction, so that maybe we could focus in, dive deep into it.
What
into
he's
that
asking you
aspect.
for is the score I asked you for, which is the 1 to 5. The 1 with the less
Right.
friction, the 5 with the highest
Right.
friction.
Okay, so and that my question was, because I mean, this committee meeting happens every 2 weeks, so, I want to make sure that everything that you ask for I can bring, so we don't waste any time, right?
Can you get it to us as it's prepared? Because don't worry about the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get it to us in between, it's even better.
Yeah, if, after we leave here tonight, because I know Mike's been taking notes, but if there's any specific data point that you want, send them to me via email.
But with what he's preparing, as it becomes available, I think if you send it to us,
Yeah,
perfect. Because if
And
we
that-
wait
that was
till
actually-
the
that was-
next meeting, it's not going to work out. No, my answer to you is think of the most normal time that you can extract the data from. So don't pick, like for example, if it's pandemic data, you know it's flawed by definition, right? Well, whatever, then just pick a period of time. A 3-month window is good enough for me.
Okay.
So long as the 3 month is not a seasonality that's going to affect you because of seasonality, right? Right.
And
There's ways to mathematically
Sorry,
do
guys.
it.
just to be clear, what I have so far is the number of permits by permit type, the total,
And the friction score.
the friction score. Okay.
Yes.
You want the
That's
lead
that's probably
time
the
and
most
all that?
important.
Lead time as well, like how long did it take to finish or complete that permit, or we
Well,
don't want that right
I
now?
think that's with
I
this
think
data,
that'll be a function of the next
we can see that.
Yeah.
With the data that was presented today, we could see the timeline and all that. But yeah, I think you're
Okay.
on the right track with
Yeah,
what
we're on the
we're
right
looking
track.
at.
Unfortunately, we've talked about it before. To get that data on start to finish, there's so many different.
Yeah, no, I
I mean,
agree.
it's so
Variances
subjective.
and-
I mean, if they're perfect, the architect's perfect, then it's
But when
the least amount of time.
When I ask my operations people these questions, they all go to their psychiatrist the next day, and then come back 3 days later and say, you know what?
Alrighty, guys, we gotta wrap it up because we have someone coming in behind us and we're there already.
And Chairman, I have a meeting with building department next week that I was planning to follow one of the processes. Is there anyone in particular that I should make emphasis, like, okay, let me work next week on either perform inspection or perhaps on plans review, that we can start developing that process.
Anecdotally, which is the one with the highest friction point?
So for me,
For you.
I don't know
I'm gonna be-
specifically town of Miami Lakes, but I think the inspection side of it is the one that might have the most conflicts from my experience in working with.
And I think it's good because also it's the Selectron part that we're trying to implement, so, okay.
Yeah,
And it's the black box for
I-
the user at the end, by the way.
I'm going to be honest, the friction score is going to be hard to determine, it's probably going to be
Totally
subjective to us.
That's okay. Totally subjective.
You can get a very simple fence, have a lot of friction.
Totally subjective.
And you can have a very simple
Just
fence, just,
When you go to
fly
bed at
by.
night, and you think about what worries you the most, that's a friction score of 5.
Exactly.
It's kinda, don't
Exactly.
be. It's not that complicated.
Understood.
When A&F comes in with a
Alrighty, guys.
permit app, 5.
Any other announcements? Our next meeting is actually scheduled for June 10th at 5:30 p.m. I'm guessing it is the same time.
If there's anything any of you want to add to the agenda, the chair is responsible for the agenda, but if you send them to me, then I'll just send it to him. It's not really, it's not a violation of sunshine, I don't believe. I'll just send you the topic so you could add to the agenda.
That works. Okay.
And Mike, I'm sorry we weren't able to schedule the time, but my assistant is working with you now because
I actually emailed with her a couple of times already before
my
this
calendar
meeting,
is
so,
yeah, perfect. Thank you.
thank you.
Alrighty, and just a reminder again, July 29th is our last meeting, and that's when we're gonna have all of our, delivery day, we could call it. Alrighty, motion to adjourn?
What you should
before-
probably do then, I mean, you normally, at least the chair, since the end of July is the end of the term of this committee, somebody, either all 5 of you or the chair, we could put you on the August council agenda, so you can, in a public forum, you can at least present your findings and your final report.
My suggestion is that it be the chair because if you have, there's a disaster.
Yeah, one voice
No,
talking.
there'll
I
be
agree.
one spokesperson, but obviously, it's a public meeting, anybody can go.
I have
That
a
works.
question before we adjourn, and Ed, is it okay for the committee members maybe to, if you think of something else that you want information from us, right, that you need pulled, is it okay for them to send that to you so we can provide it to them before the next meeting so they
Yes,
can look at it?
absolutely. Any
Okay.
data point you
Right.
want specifically,
And
even if
the
you think
only
about
reason-
it after.
The only reason I'm saying that is because it takes 15 days for us to meet again, so if we can
Yes.
get something in front of you to make a decision, we'll happily provide it. Okay, perfect. But again, if you have any other committee members has any other ideas of anything that you'd like us to provide, we'll send it to us before, and through the manager, we'll get that to you.
All right, thanks.
Alrighty, motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Any objection? All in favor?
Aye.